you doing, man?
What's up? Not bad. How you doing?
Good, not too bad. So, oh, crazy sound coming from your mic. What was that?
Oh, sorry, I moved it.
Oh, okay. Let me just turn you down a little bit. Hopefully that's a good level. Hopefully we don't get any more of those noises. Should be good. Oh. We have Tambi SC2 notes and Tambi coaching. Both haven't looked at in quite a while. Let's just do the Tambi coaching doc. It's linked up here in the Discord.
Yeah.
The roommates have waltzed in.
Oh yeah, they'll be quiet though.
No, it's all good, man. Like, look at this nerd practicing his StarCraft. Cool. Get the document open, and here we go. Coaching. Last coaching session was 4th January, a year ago.
Wow. Been saving the last one.
Cool. So ZvP specifically, I'm trying to remember. Did you write out a whole bunch of info in the email initially?
Not really. It's just like all my matchups last season were like mid 50%, except Protoss was like 50. So like, it's not anything in particular. I just kind of am stuck in all 3 matchups. Like, doing decent, great.
Let's try to focus on ZvP or ZvT if we can. But guys in chat, if there's a Terran who's around Masters 1 or GM, please do let us know. I am gonna see how Gemini goes.
Yeah, I messaged him, but that was like half an hour ago, so.
Yo, down to verse Tambi perchance. Let me know if you're around. Isn't Gemini moving to Korea or something?
I don't know.
I feel like it was Gemini who was moving to Korea. Which is cool. Grandmaster that's stuck in gold chemical nervous here. Awesome, cool. Well, anyway, while we wait, we've put the word out, which is good. Guys in chat, please, if you know anyone, hit them up, let us know, and get them in. Tambi, what's up, dude? Invited to party. Promote to leader. Alright, so we can talk about a few different things, right? We can kind of talk generally today as well about you're a bit stuck. What should we be doing? Let's start with getting a replay on screen. We don't need to talk too much about it. Let's just grab a recent Protoss or Terran game. Let's have something on screen so we can start looking at details. That's always what we want, right? We need to orient ourselves towards certain details. And whenever we're a little bit lost with how to improve, sometimes we do need to just, I mean, we don't have a choice. If we feel blindfolded, we feel like we don't know where to start, sometimes you just throw your dart. And it doesn't hit the dartboard, but it hits the wall. And from there, we can work our way back towards the dartboard and actually get some high value improvement. But it's kind of like, it's just like once we start cultivating the right mentality, that can happen very quickly. Now, when do we tend to get thrown off that sort of stuff? Generally, it's big meta shift just because there's a new patch, and at the same time there's a new map pool, and this all kind of happens, and we've just been busy with exams not too long ago, and we can be playing for a week or two, but you know, it takes a while to get back into it. So just make me the lobby host. Oh, you playing Trucksama. This guy was doing the silliest all in this morning.
I just played him today. I accidentally just kicked you.
He was doing Slow Zealot to Immortal, no matter what the opening was.
Yeah, I have no idea what this game is, so we'll see. Like, I haven't played a ton recently. So it's definitely part of the losing streak. Like, school's been busy, and then I came back. And, like, basically my schedule right now is like I don't play for a week, and then I come back, and then I lose a ton of games, and just like take another week-long break. So like, just when I get back to where I wanna, like, where I feel comfortable, then I'm.
So we've kind of been having 1 week on, 1 week off, and we're struggling to kind of get back into it, right? So I guess when you kind of do get back in, I guess what we need to do is dive through the spiked pit. That is the first day back, and go into it really mentally prepared, right? Roddy, do you ever watch Roddy stream by any chance?
Not really.
Not much as a Zerg player, no worries. So basically, he'll get back from an event, and as soon as he gets off the plane, he always turns his stream on. He'll grind for like 8 hours, and you know, Jeff always in control makes so much fun of this because it's just hilarious to watch as he's just getting like fucking smashed to the ground, he's jet lagged, and he'll just keep playing. And he goes into it, and he's always like, "Guys, I just got off the plane. I know I'm not going to play that well." But he kind of knows he's like kind of got to pay the tax. It's like the I just got back tax, I guess, is what we want to call it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you haven't played in a little bit, so you kind of know you're going to play a little bit worse. And that's something that you just kind of take in stride. So I think really, he kind of goes in, he's like, let's just dive headfirst into the spine pit, let's play a bunch of games. And the second day I still won't be 100%, but I'll have gotten over the worst of it and I'll condition myself against getting stabbed. You know, turn yourself into a piece of Swiss cheese, just get wrecked on the ladder a bunch, and embrace that getting wrecked.
That's what I've done today. Like, today's been that day for me. Like, I think I've played like 8 games and I haven't won any, so.
No worries. I mean, that's
where we're at.
Eight losses, that's cool. You know, you kind of go into it. I think I often say, personally, with those days, I say if I can win 1 in 3, that's a huge win. You know, that's it. But the bigger focus is the mentality. Now that's actually even today, right? If you could play for a few more hours, 1 in 3 is not hard to get, right? You play like 10 more games, you only need to win like 4 of those games, and you're basically there, right? So if you can go 50-50 in some games, you've already dropped 150 MMR, let's say, after losing 8 games. That sounds about right. You know, the matches will automatically be a little bit easier. So as long as we just stay focused on our fundamentals and really try to avoid the tilt train, focus on our fundamentals, don't get fancy, don't start trying new crazy shit necessarily, unless that really is our MO. That's unless that's like the main thing that we get success with, we don't really want to do that. So mentality wise, that's it. Dive back in, grind it. The other thing is, well, how else can we focus on? What do we want to focus on as we're doing it? Big focus is the mentality, right? So taking the time to slowly watch and digest losses and understand in a deep way what went wrong. So basically, this is almost like a mental training thing where it's not necessarily as much about finding ways to improve as it is about fine-tuning your game sense, getting that back up to par. That's always a little bit off. Your timing sense, you'll get surprised by things. You'll be like, what the fuck is this? Oracle early? Completely normally timed Oracle. Yeah. You'll spot, you know, Cybercore spinning. You go, what the fuck? That's a fast walk gate. It's completely normal timed walk gate. So watching the replays to get rid of any, you know, wrong reads, misreads, anything like that. But it's also just to train yourself to not be dismissive of what's happened in the game. Because the moment we get dismissive, disrespect kind of flows into us, right? We start being like, I just died a fucking stupid Ling Flood. And the moment that's like the sort of kind of analysis you need to nip in the bud really fast and be like, ooh, no, come on, let's actually look at what went on. Okay, I forgot to put my queen on the ramp, but I was also supply blocked, and that's because I moved my queen too far forward. I got to remember on this map, it's a new map. Shouldn't have put my overlord so close to the natural. And like suddenly you're just like, you're orienting yourself around these little details, and everything is so much more useful for you. So yeah, I think that's kind of like the thing there is really trying to just get that mentality of let's learn, let's look at the details and all that sort of stuff. Understand the details.
This guy is doing a wild build.
Yeah, it's the exact same build. He does this every game. This time at least he pulled off gas not too late, but he never goes charge. He just does 6 gate zealot, 2 immortals and a prism. I think he's coming from Heart of the Swarm or something like that.
Not very good against Nidus. Or really good against Nidus.
Yeah. I mean, so you've also gone for a little bit of a...
I thought I was way more ahead after the cannon rush too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those later cannon rushes. You get a Nexus up straight away, so...
Yeah.
I mean, a Nidus is okay, for sure, but it's definitely one of these ones that... Yeah, if they just put the Nexus down in the low ground and get that up, that's real nice for him. Does he even build a... He doesn't even build a cannon, I don't think, does he? So... No. It's a Cybercore now. Those links come straight across the map. Droning, we're going straight to lair and 2 more gases. You saw Robo, and you still went for the Nidus, so that's a huge mistake, right?
Okay.
Because you know Robo just shits on Nidus basically if they get the immortals out, right? Because those immortals will just never die.
And he never scouted it, I guess that's probably why I still went for it, but yeah.
Yeah, the problem is even if you get like 10 roaches and 3 queens, 4 queens with lots of energy in their main, you just have no way to ever make the immortals like die. Like they'll just keep regenning barriers and poking in and out, and like best case scenario you kill the main nexus and they've already got like a third base built on location or something, you know, and your follow-up isn't great. So just generally, like I think we should only really be doing Nidus against like a Stargate follow-up probably, right? Maybe against Twilight, but Stargate's probably the main one, because even if it's like say Glaive Adepts or DTs, or Archons and DTs can kill Nidus Worms really quickly, but Glaive Adepts, that's like 3 gateways. Just having enough raw units might be able to stop this with a probe pull as well. But the Robo especially, we just want to always make that rule for ourselves. Because if you look at this, we know we're probably what, like 2 minutes 20 or something like that from the Nidus actually popping. Let's see, 3:30. How long does this take?
I think he has 2 immortals, like by the time I actually get one down. Because I tried to put it in the main. No, yeah, he's easily got 2.
Yeah, even if we hit this a little bit earlier, there's just no way with that Robo timing. Like your lair wasn't done, the Robo was already halfway done. And because with this build, he's going to go immortals first, not a prism. And that's kind of what you should expect whenever it's Robo first, right? So when you see Robo first, I mean, what do you think of? So this is another thing, is watching the replays when you're on a losing streak and understanding your opponent's intentions can help. So what are you thinking of when you see Robo first?
I guess in this game, I wasn't really sure. Like, usually I would expect, like, a Warp Prism in either DTs or, like, the Charge Lot all-in. So I guess, I don't know, I rarely play against Immortals at all.
Okay, so you said DTs or Charge Lot all-in? So
yeah, that's, like, my first instinct, I guess.
Both of those would actually be Twilight first. So, obviously, the Robo and the Twilight are relatively similarly timed. If they're going for a DT drop or a charge it all in or something like that. But it's always Twilight Council first, right? Because they've got to go Twilight Council, then charge. That takes a long time. Or Twilight Council, then DT Shrine. In this case, we know this Robo is the only tech, right? Like, we saw everything. We saw both pylons. We saw the full area around them. So, occasionally, you'll get a shitter who just goes Robo first into like a DT drop or a charge it all in, and you're like, what the fuck was the point in getting the Robo first? That's just a bad build. Let's ignore that. You're not going to see that very often. Normally, if someone goes Robo first, there's a power of a big push, right? Immortal Sentry.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I guess Immortal Sentry too. I see that a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually have a weird build that plays off this, right? Where I go, I've probably done it to you at some point. We've played many times on the ladder. I do an immortal drop, and then I take a third base, but I'm actually only on 3 gases and about 40 probes, and I never probe my third. And then I'm like, oh, I've got 5 immortals, by the way. So my immortal drop's just like a distraction. And I push with 5 immortals, 7 or 8 sentries, and I'm just warping in 8 stalkers at a time off 8 gate, and it's just this super delayed 8 gate immortal push. But I've got so many immortals, and it's so scary, immortals and sentries. So it's all about frontal pushes. That's really scary, right? With the fast Robo, they can do something like just chrono a prism and do a 6-7 gate, something like that, even a 5 gate, and just whoa, this is hitting me at like 5 minutes. What the fuck, or even earlier. So there's all sorts of. Generally, it's frontal scary pushes that can come out, right? So what do we need against that? Obviously, Ravager Ling. Is the main answer, right? Ravager Roach.
What was that? Yeah, Ravager. Okay.
Yeah, Ravager Roach is Urgling, because depending on the numbers, right? There's a ton of Zealots, you want to have a big ass ball of Roaches, right? There's more Immortals and Sentries. Suddenly it's like, oh, Ravagers. Obviously, Biles allow you to break force fields, but also you can like retreat against that army for a really long time. What? This guy's not building more Immortals. Going +1 in Twilight. Yeah, Truck's armor here is playing a very strange style, but that's good. I mean, this is weirdos on the ladder are our best chance to work on our like fundamental rule making and understanding, right? Like here, we've kind of said, wait a second, we should never Nidus against Immortals, Robo. That's like a rule. Which, when we think about it really deeply here, if you went back in this replay and you looked at that Robo, even without knowing this is a rule, you would know it if you really looked at this replay closely and went, would this Nidus ever work? It's like, no way. Even if you get up and pop all your units, those Immortals would mince them.
Even, like, when I saw the Immortals, I just knew, like, I didn't really have... I had no idea what to do at that point. Like I knew I was kind of dead, but I knew like if I didn't make the Nidus at that point.
Yeah.
Like obviously I should have known 2 minutes before that. But
yeah, I mean that's one of those
I kind
things.
of realized it, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's really making sure in the post game you realize, because we're always going to make dumb decisions. Today I was playing a TVT. I spotted 2 factories. When I looked at their base, I went, cool, he's going mech. And then I got doom dropped by Bio. And I went, what the fuck is this shit? And I went, oh, that was the same factory. I just had scouted it earlier in the fog. I'm an idiot. It was like such a dumb, silly mistake, which I should never make in game. But it happens. And as long as I can process that in the replay and go, okay, we made a dumb mistake. Cool. No worries. We'll keep that somewhere in the back of my head. It's probably never going to happen again, but I'll put it in the back of my head for now anyway. Because I really don't want that to happen again. I'll feel like a real idiot. And yeah, so this is something where I think we can also then talk. Okay, so you knew when you saw those immortals, your first Nidus didn't work. Shit, you're gonna have to keep doing something. But what was the transition? I feel like you're a bit of a wily player, a little bit aggressive a lot of the time. You can improve as an aggressive player. You don't need to just play stock standard and get ahead on macro. Bam! Let's go back to 5 minutes 40. Your Nidus just got cucked. And you're like, it was like 5:20 actually, I guess. This is the second Nidus. And you're immediately like, let's just try break the front, I guess. Now, in hindsight, never gonna work, right? This is an okay call if they barely managed to bust it and used all their Oracle energy or something, right? And you're like, cool, well, you're not gonna be able to stop the bust at the front. Oracles aren't even good against roaches and they're out of energy. But at this point here, let's formulate a plan. Shit, me Nidus ain't working. I'm obviously in a bad situation. What's a good way to come back in ZvP in general?
I would say Swarm Host here would be good. I'd be scared I'd be scared of him making Stalkers here to go Mutas. Like the only 2 things I would go are Mutas or Swarm Host, I think, if I'm this far behind.
I'm totally down. I would have said Mutas because that's just my go-to, but Swarm Host can absolutely work as well. Now, why is Swarm Host a little bit weak in this scenario? This is a pretty long map and you got 0 creep spread. But you've got the Nidus one, so you can do that, right? But that's very gas intensive.
I do that, but it's late again.
Yeah, well, if we went for it straight away, you can imagine, man. This would have been like, you get a good Roach Ravager army, you can defend. I mean, I don't mind the second Nidus at the front, kind of poke around, create some threat, bring an Overseer over, and maybe just try to bile down the, the wall or something, and just kind of keep him occupied and be like, look, I'm being scary. But if you were like immediately dropping, let's talk through that Swarm Host. It's only 50 minerals, 50 gas, right, for the Nidus exit now? Is that right? Cool. I haven't been using it much. So let's talk through Swarm Hosts. All right, so you're saying let's go Swarm Hosts. What's the first thing we do? Okay, so Nidus got cucked in the main. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go Nidus the front and maintain some pressure. But what's important with that? Don't throw units away, right? There's no reason, right? Here, throwing away Roaches for Zealots really bad. Are we gonna drop a 3rd base immediately while going up to Nidus? What's the case?
Yeah, so right away in this game I make like a small, I shouldn't have made these roaches, I don't think, rather like if these were drones, then I'm taking a 3rd right after this.
Okay, so we go
like I make
straight away.
Like a little round of drones and then I make a 3rd.
What do you think of just going Infestation Pit and 3rd base immediately? Because I feel like you're behind and you need to kind of transition as quickly as possible. I think you're still going to be able to exert pressure because you've already built a lot of Roaches and Ravagers. And realistically, the way you're looking for damage here is like, yeah, maybe throw a cheeky Nidus behind the main mineral line, one behind the natural, right? And there's a chance they just don't notice one, and suddenly you kill a bunch of probes and you buy yourself heaps of time, right? So
I think, like a 4th gas, and then like, I like having a lot of Ravagers if I'm doing that, and just like Corrosive Bile every time I throw like Locusts in. So I think like a 4th gas.
How many Swarm Hosts are you going to go for?
10 to 12 probably.
Okay, so we're gonna go straight to 10 to 12 Swarm Hosts. So we're gonna go Infestation Pit, 3rd base, plus 4th gas pretty much immediately. And obviously swap to droning. We're gonna Nidus the front, maintain some pressure, don't throw away units, keep Nidus behind mineral lines, keep him occupied. 10 to 12 Swarm Hosts, and then just mass Ravager Ling, right?
Yep.
Now, I guess we can also say slowly spread creep, add range upgrade, attack upgrade. These are like the kind of, and then maybe swap into Mutas or try to go Brood Lords or Hive. But I think really it's up to you. You can define whatever you want your follow-up to be. But I think the main thing is really looking to do damage
for now,
constantly.
I think
Yeah.
with swarm hosts, I think I should just try to kill them because like I find myself, well, in a lot of games actually against Protoss when I go swarm host, like I'm doing good damage, I'm like kind of trading, but I'm maxed out on a Roach Ravager swarm host army, and then I end up floating like 4,000 minerals, 4,000 gas. Like I have the tech ready, but I can never quite deal with their main army.
Yeah.
And then they just push across and kill me.
Yeah, I mean, even if you've got a transition plan, it's like many minutes down the line, right? Like, I think you're absolutely right. Keep that approach of just keep hammering home, because that's what the Swarm Host Roach Ravage is about, right?
And that just forces me to kind of trade. If like I have the whole idea of trying to kill them in my mind, like I'm trading at least, and then like, once I kind of perfect that, I think I can work on transitioning. But for now, I think I should just try to kill them.
Absolutely. No, I think so. I think you should put most of your focus there, yeah. It's kind of nice to have the backup plan listed down. You're like, yeah, cool, in some mythical scenario I'll work on this, But focus 100% on just making it work as is the way to do it. So yeah, these little Nidus Worm attacks, like, I've played games against this new Nidus where I'm like, I'm killing it, and then one gets in and forces me to run probes, and then my third goes down. Like right now I'm watching from Truck Sama's vision to get in his head, and I'm like, yeah, his third should be dead. And look, it's gonna go down. So like, imagine if we would have Swarmos here already, and we would have still been doing this pressure. This would have been awesome. So like a little thing is, we only had one Overseer. We probably should have had another Overlord or Overseer, so we could throw Nidus in the back of the main, throw Nidus in the back of the natural, like alternate those. And just really list out all these details.
Main really fast.
Second Overseer to Perv on the back of natural / main. Cool. Awesome. Alright, man. So that's cool because we got like a much more decisive game plan there, right? And we've identified a few key strategic errors. I think this is pretty useful. Let's see. Did anyone offer to help us? Have we got anyone, Terran or Protoss, who's around Masters 1 / GM? Oh, Truck Sama's Turkey Dano. I forgot that. I played him earlier and I was like, this build's totally jank. Yeah, I was like, this build's totally jank and silly. And then he tried it again and he did it better. I don't know if he opened me stream, because Dano's cool. I love Dano. He hangs out in my stream a bit. I don't know if he like opened my stream quickly and saw, because he did exactly what I said he should do better in the second game, but it's still slow Zealot Immortal. And I understand the thinking is like, oh, this way the Zealots don't just run in front of the Immortals and get killed, they buffer. But it's like 2 Immortals doesn't just win the game on its own. They do a lot of damage, but I think it's really underestimating the power of charge to skip charge and go 6-gate Zealot Immortal every game. Nonetheless, Turkey Dano will figure out his own weird style, and it's his ability to stubbornly figure out different things, which is what makes him so scary. People are saying his Cannon Rush seemed weak. Everyone has off days, guys. Everyone has off days. His Cannon Rushes didn't feel very Turkey Dano earlier against me, as I also was stopping them when I often struggle. So I don't think we have anyone necessarily, but I think just doing more replays would be awesome, dude. For now, and just kind of like...
The problem is I don't have a ton.
No worries. Let's just grab like a ZvT from today, maybe, or a ZvP. We could stick with ZvP for a little bit, get a more standard game, I guess. Your call. Just whatever's there.
See what this was. I don't remember this a ton. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember these games, so not sure what we're getting into. But
no worries. Just make me the leader, and we'll see what this duck does, and we'll see if you duck him up. It's from today, so no. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If only. Thank you, Matty. Nice. Thanks for the Twitch Prime sub, dude. Guys in chat, yes, there is an ICFAR sponsorship going on, starting with the challenge, which we've already announced. That's the challenge for next week. But we've already announced it there in chat. So info's there, guys. We'll have more info up. A long-time viewer and someone who's actually been a big part of the community and someone who's actually been featured in ICFAR a few times, Oma Morky, wrote that book. And he's a cool dude. He's throwing a few $1,000s in prizes towards people who have the best ICFAR games over the next few months. So you guys should check it out. He wrote a cool book. It's a little sci-fi book about technology in the future and all sorts of cool shit. It is very much a StarCraft player's book. So check it out, guys. I'm going to keep ignoring you guys in chat because Tambi is a legend and deserves my full attention. So let's take a look here.
It's a good one to watch. I remember it now.
This is a what?
A good one to watch.
Okay, cool. So what's your standard game plan like at the moment? What style are we playing?
I'm like a mix of Roach Hydra and Hydra Bane. Usually,
the full NA
I'm
style.
trying to like practice late game a little bit.
Like kind of like Serral inspired stuff, like just kind of camping with Broodlords and using a few Vipers and stuff.
Yep, I've been watching like Lambo do that a lot, and he says it's like he thinks it's the best way, so I'll practice it. I don't think I'll be able to make it the best way, but
yeah, well,
like, I think it's really good to practice the late game sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm feeling a lot more confident in late game. Serral inspired me, and I've been destroying Protoss there as well. I'm a big fan of building a lot of Spore Crawlers once they start getting the Sky Toss. I've seen a lot of the super high level Zergs. I haven't been watching enough of Lambo, but a lot of them are very infestive focused.
Yeah,
I
that's
actually,
kind of what I go for.
Yeah, and that's definitely, you know, what I've seen from most of the top Zergs. And if you do it right, it's really really good. But whether it's Vipers or Infestors, I think the biggest thing I see people screwing up is they got 4 key minerals, and they just stop spreading creep in the mid game, the mid to late game. They don't get their creep far enough out. Or they've got the creep and they're not using it. Like on this map, right?
Yeah.
You see where I'm signaling? If we get Spore Crawlers up here, 10, 12 Spore Crawlers, Protoss is fucked. Like, we can just branch out, control that whole middle area. It's fantastic, you know? And it really forces the Protoss to try and branch in with their own Zealot counterattacks and hopefully find us with not enough static defense and all sorts of shit. But definitely, you know, don't be too light on that, on the defense. And that can be really good. So
that's like, I think that's one thing I need to do. Like, remember to put on a bunch of static defense. Like when I take a new base.
There should be a shift in modes. Now, I still think it's good to try to win in the mid game, and I still usually will try to do that. I've been doing a lot of the aggressive Queen Roach Swarmer stuff, right, lately, which is its own very unique style. Obviously, I'm going to be very aggressive with that. Sometimes I get forced to the late game, and I still can do okay there if I recognize. But there should always be a shift. Same thing if you're playing Roach Hydra Lurker, right? If you're playing like Roach Hydra Lurker or Hydralink Bane, if you sense you're ahead, or you've had a clean enough opening, you want to be aggressive, you want to deny a fourth, you've got to commit hard to that, and you should do that. And you can transition onwards behind it, but you want to make sure you're very decisive with it. And there should be a shift, which I see a lot of Protoss not do. They're like, all right, I'm headbutting. And like, maybe they get some edges, but then they just stay on Hydra Bane. And it's like, well, no, Protoss does have 4 or more bases. You've got so much economy. Go up to 85 drones. Swap into the Broodlords. Make spines and spores everywhere.
I kind of get in a position. Like, this game's weird because he never takes, like, he tries to take a 4th once and I'm able to deny it, and then he doesn't. And he just goes all in on 3 bases.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, I get stuck at, like, just before Broods come out, and I was going to send out a counterattack, and it was a little too late. And he hits me when I'm at, like, 180, 190 supply. So.
Cool. You were reasonably active with your Zerglings early. Because you've lost them, though, you are very loud on map vision. So this is a big problem. We really didn't want to lose those extra Zerglings. Because not having map vision right now is really bad. It's so hard for you to verify, is this actually a real third base or not? I don't think you've really had a verification of that. And there are some scary timings that could hit you. Now, super late Robos, fascinatingly, and a Void Ray coming out here to help defend any ground assaults. So this is definitely a very unique style as well from our. He's gone like multiple Phoenix after the Ortiz. This is, and he's gone double. Has he gone double Forge?
I'm pretty sure this guy's MMR was like 48. So
he's trying to do way too much. And that gives us so much freedom. And this the way you played, where it was a little bit
very ahead all game until like his final push just comes across.
Well, you have invested in extra roaches here, even though your Hydrodon was done. We haven't started Oh no, we have started Hydro upgrades. Oh my god. Oh man, that's bad for him. Great for us. Killed all his sentries. Okay, so you're gonna push
move out with Roach speed here and just see what's going on.
Interestingly though, so you said you're playing kind of a hybrid Roach Hydra Bane, and this time it does not look like that. It looks like Roach Hydra Lurker.
Oh no, I meant like some games I play Hydra Bane, some I play.
Okay. Now Infestation Pit kind of straight away. Like, are you looking to rush Broodlords even before Lurkers? Is that the goal here, or? Yeah,
and I think that's part of why I die. I guess I should have gone Lurkers.
Yeah,
I guess normally I would be doing this on Hydra Bane, like the fast Broodlords.
Yeah, maybe just sticking with one style there would be a better way to do it, just so you're a little bit more clear. It's so easy to get your transitions crossed when you're adapting to what your opponent's doing, but then you've also got to variations, you've got to have at least a very clear set of circumstances for when you want to swap into the Hydra Bane off the Roach opening, and you want to have one as your default, right? It's just what you do every game, whether that's the Hydra Bane swap or and it's just a few defensive Roaches. You might not even bother with Roach speed with that build, or it's the Roach Hydra Lurker, but we've got to be focused on that for sure. So you did build some extra Roach Hydra without droning your 4th. After killing those sentries, I would have been holding down that drone key for that 4th. But nonetheless, you're in a great position, but we don't have scouting, right? That Overseer should be going back through. We should absolutely be having Zerglings over there. And this is one of those habits we all fall into as a Zergling. Like, well, I'm not playing upgrades on Zerglings. Why would I be building Zerglings? Scouting, you need them. We just need Zerglings peppered around. They're so important. We always forget it. I do the same thing, and I get so annoyed at myself. I'm like, why don't I have any vision? And I'm like, well, I don't want to split off a Roach, like 6 Roaches just to get vision. That's not the best. So here we start doing some 2-pronged aggression, but this doesn't really have any structure to it at all, does it? This feels like something you just made up on the spot. So you did 2-pronged aggression less than a screen apart.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense, right? There was clearly no planning behind that. And we're going Hive, but we don't have a Lurker Den or a Spire. Now I can get behind a fast Hive if our Lurker Den's finished and we're going straight for Adaptive Talons, or if the Spire went down at the same time as the Hive, we went straight for Greater Spire. As it is, that's a no reason Hive, right? So what we're sensing here is more a lack of a good solid plan of what we want to do, right? This is not about what our opponent's doing. And this is one of these games we can look at it and we can say, oh, well, he was doing this, maybe I should have done this. We don't even need to look at what your opponent's doing. We just need to look from your vision and say, we're doing such an odd mix of different styles here. Let's come up with a clearer game plan for your ZvP. So, first question is first. And this is what you want to do. Whenever you're a little bit lost, start opening a replay and ask yourself questions, right? Put on your shitty pig voice and be like, why am I doing this? What's the game plan here? What's the game plan there? And try to say, well, what is the exact game plan, right? So let's ignore what's happening on the screen. Check out your document. What is our standard ZvP plan? I'm going to write up a little thing here. ZvP game plan. All right, so first questions first. And I want you to start writing the dot points down below that. Do we want to go Hydra Bane or Roach Hydra Lurker as our standard? All right, so we're going to go Hydra Bane. Okay, so that's the first thing. All right, next thing. Let's talk about multi-prong a little bit, because we did a 2-pronged attack there, which if we waited till he moved out to take a 4th, would have been awesome. I would have loved it. But with him sitting at his 3rd base right next to his natural, I felt like it was a move you can do as Serral if you're watching. You dart in, you dart out, you slide 5 Roaches in the natural, you pull the rest of the units back. It would have been great. But the way it worked out was we were kind of just headbutting a little bit, and we were focused on our macro. And you can kind of do that if your opponent spread out a little bit more. So multi-prong, that should kick in once our opponent takes a 4th base, or if they're out on the map. So write multi-prong and write your little rule set there. So once they're spread out to a 4th, or if they're on the map pushing you, those are the 2 scenarios where you can roll either Roaches from the early game you have left over, or Speed Banes into mineral lines, or you've got that pack of Roach Hydra you had on the north. I'm going to go back and show it one more time, because I think this is so important. Yep.
I think I should have something like set out on the map then. If like, I don't know. I'm always scared like the big push coming across. So like, even if I'm not actually like counterattacking with it, should I have it set up? Do you think?
I think so. I think that's a good way to do it. If you want to do it, yeah. And the thing is, if your opponent moves out across the map, and you're like, oh shit, it's a 3-base push. Yeah. But if if these guys are waiting up here, I mean, that's it. You'll have Ling vision, of course, which I'll write. Ling vision, so important. If he's moving out with a big 3-base all in, and these units running hit as natural, he can't deal with this with Warp-ins, right? This is what I call the distraction squad, or the piss off. This is too many units, even a full Warp-in. Absolutely. Okay. But let's imagine his army's out on the map. This attack makes sense, right? If he's just hit the edge of your creep or something, this attack, he has to turn around, or you're going to start killing his entire economy and production before the fight even starts. Now you might say, oh, but I'm losing, how many, 8 Hydras, 5 Roaches from my army? Who cares? You can give up your 4th. You can just pull your drones away, take a 4th on the top side of the map. He's going to have to push so deep on creep. You're going to have ramps to defend with defensive corrosive biles, Hydra concaves. There's no way he punishes you. He's going to have lost every single bit of his economy and production by the time he even pushes towards your natural and forces a fight, which should be... You see where my signal is? It'll be here. Yeah. You've got this arc on top. You're dropping biles on that ramp. He moves through that. He is fudged. He's so dead. But this is something I've been seeing a lot lately, is a lot of, I've been coaching a few other high-level Zergs in ZvP and even some, you know, kind of lower Masters ones. But this is a real common issue, is people just kind of saying, let's just counterattack because it's Protoss, and not thinking about when we're counterattacking. So if you can kind of write up a rule too, you said when they're spread out to a fourth or when Toss moves out of the map, and you can say, keep your problem squad, keep that big chunk of units waiting hidden on the map, and that can be a rule as well. You can be like, whenever the game's settled down, we feel in control a little bit, bam, let's split off a big chunk of units and get those ready to really ruin our opponent. Because Protoss, the way their army works is they want to get everything together and get you to fight them in one direct engagement, preferably from one angle, right when they choose, right? And the moment you get in with backstabs and counterattacks and you spread them apart, you can suddenly catch two Immortals, units which are so powerful in the core of an army. You catch them out on their own, and they're useless. What was really funny here, unfortunately, is we got two Immortals.
One Immortal. Yeah, two right here.
We got 3 shield batteries in a cannon, though. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, you need so many Hydras to still take those down, right? The Immortals with shield batteries, dude. They live up to their name. It's brutal. So that's cool. Okay, so you've talked about Hydra Bane as a game plan, right? So we're going to be going, I guess, +2 melee into range upgrades is how you normally do it, right?
Yeah, and so the one thing, like, the only reason I feel, like, kind of weird about Hydra Bane is defending, like, early game stuff, I guess. It's like,
so you want to still open up defensive roach, right?
I still want to be making roaches, but then I'm, like, I always get kind of confused on what upgrade I should be.
Don't bother with roach speed, and let's think about it. Against most early aggression, you only build like 10 roaches, right? Against, like, say an adept poke or an Archon drop, you might build 10, 12, 13 roaches. You don't even need to bother with roach speed, but let's just stick with roach speed for now. It seems a little bit awkward, but I think it's totally fine to just stick with those roaches as part of the build and just ignore them otherwise, though.
And still, like, get melee, like, be building roaches, but start that melee up at like 5 minutes-ish, 4:30.
Yeah, preferably we could get it about then. It can be a little bit later, though. It doesn't have to be super rushed, because we are going to be playing a little bit.
That's the thing I felt a little weird about. Like, I always, you know, like, the +2 is a huge power spike, and so it always feels, like, weird to get melee, but kind of delay it.
Yeah, it definitely is a big power spike. I don't think it's the most important, because you can still absolutely kill stuff. And if you do want to have that more pointed build, that's a strategic choice, right? So we can do the super, like, I'm going to be careful and build roaches. And then you see the guys are like, fuck that, I didn't even build a baneling nest until after my lair's done. I just get 6 queens, and I just build zerglings, and I hope my opponent, you know, doesn't come in with, like, an Archon drop on one side and 2 adept shading on another side, or I'm going to lose 15 workers. Or they warp in, you know, 6 zealots after their 2 Archons are there, oracles turn on their laser beams and evaporate my lings. Like, we know there's problems with those defenses. You can absolutely pull off those defenses, but there are problems with it. There absolutely are problems. So... what's your ideal worker count? Are you going to try and break them with Hydra Bane, try and break down that 4th? Or are we just going to kind of do some counters?
Just like counter, kind of poke at them. So
what's your worker count?
75, I think.
75? Okay, 75 drones. I'm going to write that down there for you.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of teching to Broodlords reasonably quickly, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, let's say 75 to 80 drones. So
yeah, I guess I'm never, like, super precise with that. Like,
I'm
never really above 80.
We just want to make sure we're not sitting on, like, 67 thinking we're at 75 kind of thing.
I'm definitely always, I always know I'm, like, over 70 and below 80. It's kind of like what I've been doing.
And that should work out reasonably well. So somewhere in that 70 to 80 range. And then we're going to go Infestation and then straight into Hive plus Spire. Now, you can come up with your own trigger. When should we put that Infestation pit down and start that Broodlord transition? I would throw out a suggestion, maybe just when you finish droning that 4th, when you're like, I'm at like my 75 workers. Let's start that transition.
For me, it's been like 7 minutes. I don't know why, but like I'm always like 7:30 is usually when I'm putting that down. So I don't know why that's my trigger, what it is.
I'm writing 730/75 drones because I think that'll line up pretty similarly. Yeah. Most games, obviously, it depends where the game is. But like
that's probably something where like I'm kind of doing it by just like without knowing. Like I'm making a big round of drones for my 4th, and then I look and it's 7:30, and I'm making the Infestation pit.
So this game, we put it down right on like 7 minutes, and we had
that's a little early.
We droned the base after. Yeah, it is definitely a bit early because especially you'd be making Bane speed right now. You might be starting that +2 melee, etc., right?
Yeah.
So okay, cool. Now we've got a game plan, right? And we're gonna try and probably push with the Broodlords and try to see if we can finish the game there, right? If we can. If not, we can even have a few late game points. You can be like, you know, spread creep everywhere. Build a big bunch of spores with your broods up front. Do cool, infest as shit, like Lambo does. Something
so, like,
we cannot help you with at all.
If I can't kill them on that Broodlord push, should my follow-up just be to put, like, static defense down, you think? At my, like, other bases?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, this is already something even in the mid-game here. So, we've done... You know, you're in such a great position here. As we said, unfortunately, let's talk about this game in that suggestion, actually, because there's something we forgot here, which is Warp Prism defense. It's one of the most important things. This should actually be a core part of your build. So your opponent opened up with a few Phoenix. Guess what? The moment you've got Hydras out in the field, those Phoenix are normally pissing off. So somewhere at this stage, once we're comfortable, not only should we be putting Lings everywhere, you should have Overlords, right? All over this map. We should have all these Overlords on the edges, and we should always have a defense squad ready. Now, something I like to do is, say you expanded 4 bases up the top of the map, and your main army is normally hovering in this sort of area. You see where I signal?
Yep.
So if you're kind of around this area up here, you're protecting your 4th, right? It's nearby. Prism, not scary there, and you're assaulting his 4th from this northern side. Main base is the vulnerable area. I would have my 4, let's say I try to skimp on it. It's just 4 Hydras, which is very greedy. If they just, you know, drop Zealots on top of just 1 or 2 Hydras, you're not clumped up, you're not focus firing, you know, you're distracted elsewhere. But let's say we just have 4 Hydras. Now you can put them in the main, or you could put them here. Down here on the bottom of the map. And if you've got Overlords in front and you even see a Prism coming, I often do that and I run across and I intercept it and I snipe it on the way across the map. And then those Hydras can just slide back into my army. And that's actually huge. Because so many times we fall behind by wasting tons of time not defending that Prism. So spread Ovies for vision and put a Hydra defense squad in the most exposed base far away from our main army, wherever our main army happens to be on the map. Late game, we can also say drone to 90 drones, right? Don't 90, maybe even 95, maybe even 100, right? Depending on it. And then start massing those spines on the edge bases and the spores in the middle, right? We don't want to be barely at 70 drones, build 10 spores in the middle, 5 spines up here, 5 spines down here, and then suddenly we're like, I'm on 40 drones. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. You know, keep that worker count up at a good, healthy count, and bank up a little bit before you start massing static. So that's cool. That gives us more of a game plan. Lastly, let's talk about this specific army our opponent's going for. This is a 2-2 Zealot Arc on Immortal push, right?
Yep.
So let's imagine this has hit us earlier in the game where we only have Roach Hydra. You only have Roach Hydra, I know, but let's imagine. Let's think about this. Let's imagine it's a bit of a smaller army, not quite as many upgrades. It's probably only got +1 Immortal Zealot Arc on 3 bases. Okay, big attack, no Storm. You don't know that, but we can kind of figure that Storm is not a big part of this army, right?
Yeah.
How do you engage this? How should we have engaged this?
Clumped, I would say clumped up without a Storm. I guess I didn't know that he only, like, I know as soon as he attacks it, I realized he only had one high Templar with enough energy. But yeah, I would have liked to just be clumped up and kind of, like, hit him right at the edge of creep and just kite him back the whole time.
Cool. What about Ravages? Do we add Ravages in there against this? Cool. Yeah, I think morphing as many Ravages as we could, if we think it's an all-in. Maybe not. Maybe just 5 or 6 Ravages is all you've usually got the gas for. Definitely making some Ravages, because those Biles, for Bile kiting, that'll be big as well. Because unfortunately, yeah, you made the misread on what this army exactly was. You kind of thought, oh, it's Storm, let's come in from all sides.
Well, this one was going out to be a counterattack, but it was just a little too slow. And he doesn't, he just runs like right into my 4th. And I think I still could have won this, because I have 8 Corruptors in this fight. If I just like gave away the 4th, and then like pulled those back, and then made broodlords because the Greater Spire is almost done now.
Yeah, and your army was spread, which against this many zealots and immortals, you actually like you can't do. You kind of just need to spread his army out. So if that army on the front actually stayed in a ball and ran up that ramp and ran your drones away, that would have been way better. But we ended up kind of giving him surface area. He was like, oh, you spread into a concave against my melee units, you know, that have charge and archons, and you're like, oh crap, because only half your army was there as well. So we really needed to keep this army on the 4th, in a ball, pull it up that ramp and get the hell out of it.
Should I even just committed to the counterattack and said, like, take my 4th?
Potentially. I mean, it's a pretty bad position because he's starting to push earlier. You've got immortals, batteries, cannons already on that base. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to break him at home. You also don't have an overseer prepared with that counterattack. So if he had DT tech, a single DT would slowly clean that up. It's a tough call. It's not an ideal scenario. I think you're right to think maybe that's the right way. I actually think bringing it in to kind of sandwich the army, like you come in from behind, if he turns around, you pull it back. If he keeps chasing you, your army on the front in this big ball. Because if we had another 8 or 9 hydras and roaches, which you did have, but they all got killed so quickly at the start of this fight. If we had those on this ramp, we pull them back. Eventually, you'll kill all the zealots, and then you'll fight the immortals and archons on their own. And if you surround a mortal archon, it goes down pretty fast. It's just these zealots were too big, right?
I was definitely kind of caught off guard by how fast he just like YOLO'd that far into creep, but I guess with his army, it makes more sense.
And his upgrades, man. +2 on those immortals and those charge lots. It's actually like crazy, yeah. Because your hydras effectively are like what +0 hydras normally are.
Yeah.
Against these units, at least when the shields are gone. And yeah, good to just go over that basic thing there of like, oh shit, you know, we could have held on against this push if we kept our army together in a big ball and just tried to kite it down, use some biles, that sort of stuff. Did suck that our army happened to have just split in half, but we still then could have pulled back and made it work.
Yeah.
My man. Cool. All right, so I think this is good because we've kind of ironed out your plan to be a bit more decisive there. I think the really big important thing for you to remember, right, in that analysis was you knew a lot of the things that have gone wrong in these games. You just haven't been as decisive at giving yourself rules or writing out a list for fixing them. So in that one, a big one I want you to highlight in your brain is you were kind of like, sometimes they go Hydrabane, sometimes they go Roach Ravager. And whenever something's like a little bit half-half, we want to make sure there's very clear like rules. Like one's the default and there's a clear rule for this branch. And I think you'd already come to that conclusion from the way you spoke about it. But you said, but I like Roaches for defense. I'm not sure about the Hydrabane defense. So therefore I'm still going to build Roaches. But I still want to play Hydrabane sometimes. So you ended up with this kind of, there's a problem. Rather than really nailing down a rule for that problem, we kind of became loose on what our response there. Okay, well, I'm still going to open Roaches every game, but sometimes I'll swap back into Hydrabane and sometimes I won't. And it's like, if we'd just been a little bit more decisive, that's fine. We're going to stick with the Hydrabane transition. We're going to stick with the Roach Hydra Lurker transition. I want the Roaches for the defense here. Whereas I think you hadn't really fully nailed down that detail where you were like, well, I like Hydrabane, but I'm not really sure when I can go Hydrabane or how to go to it. And because of that, it was a little bit loose. And we saw that I still think you would go at Hydrabane most games. We saw that game we didn't, and we just kind of didn't have a clear follow-up or anything like that. So we kind of got hung up on this problem of I want to go Roaches, but I kind of want to be playing Hydrabane, so I'm halfway between two styles. And we always want to just set those rules down and iron out one style until we can say, what exactly am I doing at this point? What exactly am I doing at this point? And then we have this fully fleshed out game plan, which now you've got that game plan. I'm convinced you're going to be, you know, crushing in games like these past ones.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there anyone?
Yeah.
If not, we could watch a Terran.
Yeah, I'd be down to watch a Terran one, but totally your call. Because I think we got to see a shitty cheesy scenario, come up with a few rules for it in the first one. I say shitty. It's a good scenario. The best we learned from. Turkey Dana doing some weird shit. And we learnt some rules, and we've got like this really fleshed out comeback plan now. You're going to suck at it the first few times you do it, even though you've done some stuff like it. But now you can finish one of those scrappy games, and rather than going, it was a scrappy game, tried some Swarm Hose shit, I got supply block 3 times, and I floated 2k minerals and had no gas or something like this. You're like, well, no, I forgot to take the 4th gas, which is part of my comeback response. I go, 3rd base immediately, infestation pit, and 4th gas. Why did I forget to do that after my Nidus Worm failed? So it structures your improvement, which will be awesome. So if there's a ZvT, that would be cool. We can kind of talk through some rules, some details, and figure that stuff out as well.
I've got one. It was from yesterday. I don't know what it is. Yesterday was a little better, so maybe I was playing better.
Cool. Just make me the host and we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much, Big White, for the Twitch Prime sub. Maddie Nice as well. Thank you, guys. Mr. Q before. Thank you. For those of you just tuning in, Tambi is a GM Master 1 Zerg player. You're still in college, right?
Yep.
Full-time college student. So as is the nature of all college student players, we see those streaks where you really get to dedicate yourself to the game a ton, and those streaks where you're doing finals and you don't get to play for a while. So, you know, a lot of players struggle with that up and down, but I think you've been doing a pretty good job of kind of staying nice and competitive over the years. And we see that same thing with a lot of the very top NA guys, where they come out just smashing it. And then I see them in another tournament, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? This looks like a different player. And I'm like, oh, he's been studying super hard for 2 months and hasn't been laddering at all. Okay, yeah, he's just rusty, you know? It's the college conundrum. That's why it's super cool if you do manage to just crush from a young age like Neeb and then dedicate yourself fully to the game. And we see the results of that. That's why Neeb is such a monster consistently and continues to evolve so much and at such a quick rate as a player. And hats off to the guys who are keeping up as college student and school students and kind of constantly evolving, because it's so hard to win at StarCraft. The game constantly evolves, and we all wish we could just kind of play 24/7, but you'd be amazed how much we can improve, even with limited time, if we can constantly develop and get quicker at overcoming all the little mental hurdles that are constantly going to prop up, no matter how disciplined we are as a player. Ooh.
Yeah, new map.
Is that high ground where you were running to, by the way?
I don't know.
I
should like
no
my overlord.
idea.
Now I know though. Like I'm not sending my overlord. I'm just sending him like right up to here first.
Yeah, and I mean he still might have been able to get it if you rally those Marines out front. There's also there is a pillar there, but obviously they can very easily spot that from the high ground.
I think like what I would want to do is like kind of come in almost from their like whatever that is, their third.
Oh yeah, from the left-hand side. And then you could
up.
run to the dead space potentially if you spot them really early coming down with Marines. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I really like the kind of coming in from straight towards the edge into the production, but this map it's really hard because this the main base sticks out so much, right? So their production is like so protected in the back. I reckon we'll see some Zergs trying to scoot the Overlord around the back of the natural and just being like doop doop doop, sliding past, and try to come in from the back of the main. But obviously, this guy's...
what am I doing this game? But I remember now.
Oh, what are you doing?
I think I really like 2-base Muta on this map just because his main is massive and like sticks out so far.
There's not a lot of dead space though, right? So you could get pressed against the edge with those mutas.
True. It was just like an idea I had on this map. Like my first... I think this was actually the very first time I played it. So.
Fair enough, yeah. 2-base Muta is a style which is always a gamble and vulnerable. We see Jim Rising do this a lot, as well as a few other Zergs. Super important to get that Spire down. So I always, whenever I go any 2-base Muta build, I always try to get a second gas almost immediately when I start that layer. And that means I'll be able to start the Spire when my layer finishes, but I don't take any more gases until I've got a 3rd base started. So it's kind of like 3rd base and the Spire tend to go down around the same time. So I'm oversaturating my minerals just a tiny bit and then going the next 2 gases. And I can still get about 5 mutas in time, right? Because the big delay is always waiting for that Spire to finish. But it's so important to get that 3rd started in a macro scenario. And if you pick up on the fact that they're going to do some sort of push, like a Hellbat timing can be brutal against this, right? If they do a really tight Hellbat timing, you really just have to like run queens, run drones, stutter step with your queens, spread them out, and just try to buy time. And it can work out okay, because they'll often fuck up against the counter swing of the mutas, even if you take a lot of damage. But it's always a little bit of a gamble going for the 2-base Muta. So we see here that 3rd base is going to be quite late. And yeah. So the power of if you had that 3rd started at 30 seconds ago, say, right? Maybe a little bit more. You build the mutas. You often are hitting a bit so closer to your supply cap. You built tons of extra overlords this game. Better than getting supply capped. It's only a very small thing I'm being critical of. I wouldn't say this is like, oh, so terrible. But you'd then build a few overlords and you'd start droning. And by the time those drones are popping, the third's finished, right? And it allows you to kind of saturate your third immediately behind the mutas, because the response is the Terran has to just tuck their head in, right? Into their shell for a while against the mutas. So being able to saturate that third quickly is a big difference. What's the other big thing? Which you have to press. If they've got good anti-air defense and your mutas don't just find a big gaping opening and do massive damage, it's your creep spread, right? You will have absolute map dominance. Your economy will be worse than your opponent's. So we can offset that economy disadvantage by getting the third up a bit earlier and making sure we drone that really hard. And number two, by making sure that we spread creep like a madman and say, yeah, I might not actually have the economy, but I've got that. And that's often this scenario, right? If he were on creep right now, you die. If his whole army's just like in your natural at this point, and that's kind of the line you toe. You say, that's fine, I've got absolute map vision. You need to leave your shit at home, you're going to lose workers. You got to build missile turrets. I've got time. I can drone up and then go into the Lingbane muta. And you know what? I'm going to probably be behind on upgrades with this style, right? If they've gone for a good timed 1-1 like your opponent has, that's fine. Because you're going to be ambushing them with the Lingbane. You're going to be counter-attacking with the mutas. You're going to be running in like this and picking off SCVs and all that sort of stuff. Now, one thing we see here is there's a big opening in that main base and we're not hanging around quite as much as we could. And I think part of this is you feel a bit worried about a push coming to hit you on the front right now. That's what I feel. Do you reckon that's what it was? Yeah,
like I even made lings there.
Yeah. I didn't have to. So this is where the second layer of Ling Vision is a cool adjustment if you're playing a fast muta style. And this is a little thing which I've kind of come up with as a rule for myself. Fast 2-base muta, ZvT, always have a second layer of Ling Vision. This allows, when one spotting Ling dies, your mutas to keep hammering home, right? Because we just missed a big opportunity to take out 2 reactors in that main base. Look at his production. If he's just got 2 reactors, like 2 less reactors there, less medevac production, that would have been huge. That would have been so sick. And that could have made a really big difference. Now, what's the other thing here? We don't have Bane Speed. Bane Speed is so important for ambushing your opponent.
I think a lot of this too is this was like one of the first games after a break. Like, I don't know, just like some of the mechanical things I'm forgetting. I think I didn't micro the mutas as much as I would have liked to.
For sure.
I pulled them back a ton and just let them sit there.
Yeah, you got to get that momentum and that rhythm. Even in these games, I think it's helpful when you're first getting back though. And I do the same thing. I say, shit, this game's, it's mostly just got to get my rhythm back, right? I got to get that experience again.
Yeah.
But even in these games, I think it's useful to just get in the habit of saying, yep, but here's the actual details of what I did wrong. Just to make sure we focus on the details as well as the rhythm, right? Sometimes you play a game, it's just utter shit. Everything's off. You're losing momentum. You're getting picked off here and there, and there's shit hitting you. Sometimes it is okay to just dismiss it from your mind. But I think this is a game where we can point to like a few clear things like, oh, okay, I got to be a bit more active with those mutas. Let's have a little bit more map vision. Cool, that would make a big difference, right? So, fast 2-base muta. Do you have a set build for it, or do you think you just play it by feel?
I just kind of play it by feel.
Yeah. So second gas as soon as layer goes down?
Yeah.
Immediate
that would have been a little
spire.
cleaner. I had too much gas this game. Not enough.
Yeah. So third hatch, then third and fourth gas. And this will, of course, allows us to drone up harder behind the pressure. Cool. I don't think that'll be great. So push creep spread really hard is also huge, of course. That's one of the things you'll slow down a lot on new maps because you're like, wait, where am I spreading this creep to? You just, you're not quite in that rhythm. It's one of these things, whenever you're playing defensive macro and it's on a new map, you're like, wait, these creep go, oh, there's a cliff here. Okay, there's a ledge here. Okay, I gotta, it kind of gumps you up a little bit and slows down what you're doing. But yeah, we did a good job of fighting back in this game. So we're going lots of attack upgrades on the mutas. That's the way I like to do it as well. The YOLO mutas, the aggressive mutas. We did lose a lot of these mutt-mutts though. And that is definitely something where it becomes dangerous to keep massing Mutiling Bane after the next big battle, right? we're like, yeah, we've got a bit more time, but like if he maxes out and we're still on heavy mutas, it's like, well, we're gonna have to counterattack real hard, aren't we? Good hold position there.
My biggest thing too is this guy, I forgot to start 2-2. By now it should have been done, and it hasn't been started. So
your 1-1 was
like
quite late.
I think I'm 1-1 against 3-3 even.
Ooh, it's very easy to forget that, because when you play 2-base muta, because you don't play it that much, right? Yeah. It's just so much later than normal. It's like past the stage of the game where you're normally thinking about it.
Is this the map where stuff gets stuck?
Oh, I don't think so.
I swore I clicked these away, and I like looked back. And they were just, like,
well, I know new repugnancy units get stuck. Today I had 2 liberators both get stuck on a doodad and just get killed by a queen rather than flying past it, and I was like, oh. So we can also make a reminder: 1-1 straight into 2-2, because that is something you will habitually forget in this matchup when you're going for 2-base muta. And at this point, you know, we've got to stop rebuilding those mutas and focusing on the Ling Bane counter, right? And we've got to be kind of looking for the counterattacks mass, which we should be ready to just swing in, like right now. Counterattacks a game winner. We should have just swung in with everything as the game goes on, or rolling into his army as soon as he steps on creep. Like right now, we should be running towards that army just to be like, hey, fuck off, mate. You don't actually want to fight it. You just want to force him to run.
I mean, and like he could look away right at this counterattack too.
Yeah.
See if we're really clumped there.
Exactly, and then you could have rolled in. And that's something you want to do, is you just want to threaten it, because you're going to have earlier Bane speed and more creep. So how do you use earlier Bane speed and more creep, right? It's like, well, you just scare the shit out of him, because he never knows how big your army is. So even when you really don't want to fight, you run at him, and you're like, I want to fight! And he freaks the hell out, and he's splitting backwards the moment he's on creep. Meanwhile, 70% of your army is committed to counterattacks, and you're buying the time. So, you know, especially against Widow Mines, that's one of the fundamental ways a lot of players love to engage against Widow Mines, right? Is they like to just roll Banes into it to slow down the parade and counterattack with 90% of their forces, and just do that over and over off a big economy. Now, beautiful, beautiful spreads by him. Showing his gymnastics, doing a good spready. Good counters by you on the north side. Damn. Damn. I think you're gonna win this game. I hope you do. It's still like, it's scary, it's hard. You're in this kind of holding zone. He swapped into Widow Mines. Oh, that's dangerous. Once again, he's got nothing at home. Ah. This is one of these games where we would have just destroyed if we went a bit more wild on the counterattacks. This 4th base never would have got down. So, yeah, definitely maybe just committing to the counterattacks whenever you play these heavy muta styles a little bit more.
Yep. I let him really set this push up too.
Yeah.
I think I definitely like respected it too much. I tried to send a small chunk in there, but my army was actually quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, I think we've dilly-dallied a bit too long now, haven't we? Oh, because now, yeah, you were distracted micro and your mutas. Barely took out that Widow Mine. Oh, that one got a big shot though. And look at this Widow Mine, it's gonna kill 35 units. I can tell. You know, he's got this like this random Widow Mine in the back.
Yep.
It's gonna kill everything. Oh no, shut your eyes. Oh, it didn't. Okay.
The Marines look at everything.
Yeah, and here we go with the link counters. So yeah, whenever you start doing those, I think there's a mode, right? When you get past a certain stage of the game, it's if you're not engaging him on the edge of creep and like really out there going, hey, come and fight me, well, you should have a large amount of units constantly committed to counterattacks, right?
Yeah.
Because it's either I want to fight you and I'm ready to fight you and I'm not going to let you set up and push on creep and I'm at the very least going to slow it down, or I'm counterattacking a lot. Because as these fights get later and later, obviously the upgrades will shift in his favor. The Widow Mine count starts growing like insane.
Yep.
Insane amounts. You know, Thors start coming out which deal with the mutas. We shouldn't be building mutas at this stage, in my opinion. I prefer corruptors because they're not really counterattacking, right?
Oh look, I did build one.
Yeah, you got one. Captain Jellyfish. Captain Jellyfish, man. He's just gonna lead them. Alright. So yeah. So this is definitely a game where we could have found some more edges earlier. Everything is balanced on a knife's edge with 2-base muta, isn't it? Where you can spiral very quickly early on, and things can spiral against you very early on. It's the nature of the style. and it looks like this time he's managed to overwhelm us. Just a bit too much Terran. Lovely pre-spread. And Widow Mine Thor Marine, good job. Whew. Nice. Are you playing mostly just like Lingbane Muter, even off 3-base builds, or?
No, on 3-base and Hydra Bane too. And I think that's why I'm more comfortable with it. And
it's like the lack of practice
ZvP.
with the Muters, right? You just kind of not as in practice with bouncing between bases and doing all that. Such a different rhythm to it.
Like I like Muters, I'm just not as practiced with them. So.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I think definitely just, you know, focus on the deets with your 3-base builds. And if you are just getting back into it, you might want to also just say, hey, let's just do the same build every matchup, because we've seen a lot of build variety and a lot of firm responses from you. You know, you've made hard reads. Yeah. Little information, bam, hard response, right? Like the Nidus we saw earlier here. This map, big main, let's go 2-base Muter. And it's cool to see that decisiveness, but we also see when you're trying to recover some of your fundamentals, it can make it a little bit of a slower process. And then you get frustrated because you go, what the fuck, man, I just lost 8 games today. Yeah. It might just be that we've only played each build 1 time, or at most 2. And it might take 3 or 4 games with each build before we get that rhythm down again. So I think here is like the kind of final homework points, besides all these notes, and do go back and kind of try to watch the replays again tomorrow and read through all the notes in the document just to really get it in your brain. What's the main homework? I would say let's just work on 1 build in each matchup, no matter the map. Okay, unless it really, really doesn't work, all right? Unless it really doesn't work. Work on 1 build in each matchup, no matter the map, for like the rest of this week or something like that. Or you can choose. How long do you want to do it? 3 days? 4 days? A week?
I think the rest of the week's fine.
All right, rest of the week. Let's like really grind it out. You'll encounter a ton of players as well, right? Doing different builds. So it's not like every game's going to be the same. You're going to get a big range of experience with those builds, figuring out the different branches, and try to do that. Other than that, what are you going to do? Watch replays slowly and try to write down 1 to 2 notes that you can improve on, right? Nidus didn't work against Immortals. We saw the Robo. Okay, bam, hammer that home. Saw the Robo. Should have shifted our game plan. Imagine if you were already going fast lair in that early ZvP. Imagine if you went 2-base Muter straight away. You just like went Spire instead of Nidus Worm. I reckon that would have actually been really cool, right? Yeah. So you know you could have adapted even at that point with your build and said, oh, let's swap the Nidus into a Muter player.
He pulled out of gas. Like the only thing I was scared of was like Stalkers with a Robo build like that, and then he didn't even have gas. So
yeah, and on 2-base Stalkers, they're not going to have very many, right? You know, you're probably going to be hitting with those Muters pretty fast. So, good shit, man. Honestly, I think overall, let's go back to where we started today. You're still in the spiked pit. Okay, we're the spiked pit the first day back, right? There's the fortress, and in the center of the fortress is us feeling confident in our games and winning, hopefully more than 50%, but more importantly, feeling in control. Where even when we lose games, we've got a pretty quick idea of what's gone wrong. We know what to improve on. We're taking it all in stride. It's like that, you know, that positive ladder flow you have where even when you're losing games, you're like, shit, he played well. Oh, that was a good move. Yeah. Rather than the frustrated response. That's in the center of the fortress right now. We're in the spiked pit moat outside the fortress. We need to just soldier through that for a day or 2, and we need to make that process quicker. So rather than saying, I'm going to dive in head first, impale myself, then climb back out, then jump in arse first, then try to crowd surf, we're going to do just one way of getting through, and that's just slog through with 1 build in each matchup. We're going to climb out the other side of the spiked pit, start scaling the wall of efficient rhythm with our builds, and then slowly work our way up into the center of the city to the Citadel, where we're going to scale the wall of adding in sick little adjustment, awesome maneuvers, perfectly timed counterattacks and backstabs, and amazing strategic play reacting to our opponent on the fly. So that's your motivational speech for the day, man.
Sounds great. I was into it.
Hells yeah. Hells yeah, man. All right, well, good luck in your practice. Let us know in chat. You know, feel free to drop by and shout out any questions in chat anytime, as per usual.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Let us know how it goes, man.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Awesome. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.